Elara Vance didn't trust satellites. We're cold, distant observers, capturing pixels of green and brown from the safety of space. They couldn't smell the damp rot of ancient moss, or feel the hum of a forest holding its breath. To truly know a place to map it, before it died one had to bleed on the briars. She stood on a ridge overlooking what was left of the Valdivian temperate rainforest. Behind her was the gray line, a literal scar of asphalt, logging roads, and prefabricated housing that marked the edge of human expansion. It smelled of diesel and wet concrete. Before her lay the Emerald Deep, the last unmapped sector of the southern continent, a pocket of wilderness that had somehow evaded the surveyor's drone. In an age of LiDAR and real-time GPS, Elara was an anachronism. She didn't just record coordinates. She recorded the soul of the geographer. You have 3 weeks. Elara. Her contractor's voice echoed in her memory. The heavy machinery arrives on the 1st. Whatever isn't on paper by then doesn't exist. She wasn't an activist. She was a witness. Her job was to create the obituary of a world about to be erased. She stepped off the ridge and descended into the green. The first day was a fight against the undergrowth. Ferns, as tall as doorways, lashed at her legs, and the canopy was so thick that noon looked like twilight. She sketched the curve of giant roots and noted the specific shade of a bioluminescent lichen. By the 3rd day, the noise of the gray line had faded. It was replaced by the great hush, the sound of a balanced ecosystem, a silence made of a million tiny noises. She found a river that wasn't on any satellite feed, flowing from an underground source through a limestone archway into a crystal-clear pool. She named it the Weeping Vein. As she sketched, a creature emerged. It was a deer, its antlers covered in velvet that matched the moss of the trees. A perfect camouflage. It looked at her with ancient curiosity, no fear. Elara sketched furiously, capturing the slope of its neck and the intelligence in its gaze. When it bounded away, a sharp grief hit her. This creature had evolved over thousands of years to fit this perfect puzzle of trees and water. In 3 weeks, its home would be a parking lot for a strip mine. She labeled the drawing, the ghost egg of Sector 4. Week 2 brought a deluge that turned the earth to slurry. Elara pushed deeper into the heart of the sector. The topography became strange, dreamlike. She mapped a valley where flowers bloomed only at night, releasing a scent like burnt sugar in ozone. She charted a canyon where the wind howled through natural rock flutes, creating a mournful melody. She called it the Singing Canyon. The isolation began to weigh on her. She realized she was the first and last human to see these places. One evening, she found a stone marker, ancient and covered in moss. Scraping it clean, she saw it wasn't a boundary marker, but a grave, not for a human, but for a wolf-like companion, carved perhaps centuries ago by an indigenous hunter. This land wasn't just resources. It was a library of stories, and the bulldozers were coming to burn it down. She unrolled her largest scroll and began the macro map, connecting the Weeping Vein to the Singing Canyon, drawing migration paths, and adding poetic notes in the margins. She was making a masterpiece, a map of a ghost. On the 17th day, the ground shook. Thud, thud, thud. It was the heartbeat of the invasion. Scrambling up a tree, she saw them through her spyglassy yellow mechanical beasts, tearing through the tree line, far ahead of schedule. Panic seized her. She hadn't finished the western quadrant, where she suspected the oldest living things on the continent stood. Abandoning everything but her maps, ink, and water, she ran, racing the machines toward the grove. She reached it. At sunset, it was a cathedral of trees with shimmering silver bark, their branches interlocking to block out the sky. Exhausted and bleeding, Elara collapsed at the base of the central tree. "I see you," she whispered. "I am witnessing you." She worked through the night by headlamp, measuring trunks, mapping the complex web of fungi connecting their roots, drawing the texture of the bark. As dawn broke, the roar was deafening. The smell of diesel choked the air. A massive bulldozer broke through the tree line, 100 yards away. She rolled the vellum tight, placed it in a waterproof titanium tube, and sealed Italiano. She placed her hand on the silver bark of the central tree. "I'm sorry," she said. "I captured your likeness. It's all I can save." 3 months later, in New York City's Museum of Natural History, the Hall of Lost the room was silent and temperature controlled. The walls were lined with maps of places that no longer existed. Elara stood before a glass case. A map is not the territory. A map is a tombstone. She walked out of the museum, into the gray concrete canyons of the city, clutching her empty hands. The wild was gone, trapped under glass and ink, leaving the world a little quieter, a little flatter, and infinitely more lonely. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that makes you think.